welcome to my journey. Today we're going to talk about carb cycling. I mentioned in my video the other day that it was something I was interested in. I wanted to find out more about it because I've heard of it, and I asked if anybody else was interested, and several of you were. So I took it to Google, got my paper and my pen. Let me stress up front, this is a layperson's explanation. I'm not getting scientific. I gleaned this information from various websites. It's not all from one. I pieced together what I thought was the information that we could understand as a layperson to other laypersons, I'm assuming. I'm sure there's a carb cycling expert out there that might watch this and find all kinds of things wrong with it. But these are the facts and the information that I found. And then at the end, I'm going to give you my opinion, because I do have an opinion. I did not know what my opinion was. I didn't even know what carb cycling was. I thought I knew, but I did not. And so I will give you my opinion at the end. That part is all me. You can't argue with it. You can argue with my facts as long as you go look them up. You don't have to take anything I say as the gospel truth. You go look these things up for yourself. Now let me first say, it does say carb cycling is not for people with diabetes or heart disease, or if you're pregnant or nursing, or if you have an eating disorder. I guess because on high carb days you could be apt to maybe overeat, thinking, I don't know, because what it shows you should eat is nothing that a binge eater would want. Not me. When I binge eat, it's going to be on something good, as in tasty, not good for me. So anyway, I will be reading heavily from my notes, because the fact part, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you and give you my opinion on facts. The opinion comes at the end, so don't mind me looking and reading, because I don't want to steer you wrong on the information portion of it. So carb cycling is going back and forth between high carb and low carb days, and some even no carb days. High carb days are good for if you're exercising like extra hard. It says there's no scientific, that they've had some studies, but there's no scientific research that proves weight loss, but some people have found it to help in that. It seems good to break a weight loss plateau because it may trick your metabolism. So those are the things that, even though there's no scientific proof, no hard evidence, that people have found this to be their experience. Side note, bodybuilders and athletes use it to gain a competitive advantage. Now, I don't think any of us are bodybuilders or athletes. Let's just leave that there for the moment. Carb cycling aims to use more carbs when needed, as in that exercise, and exclude them when not, as in your rest times. Here are some factors of how this carb cycling is used. Body composition goals. Reduce the carbs during a diet and add them during muscle building. Okay, I diet, but I don't muscle build. Training and rest days. You want higher on training days and lower on rest days. Scheduled refeeds. Refeeds is when you up your intake of carbs. It says 1 or more days of high carbs after a prolonged diet. So I guess that would mean after a long time of no carbs, that would be a refeed, adding carbs back into your system. Special events or competitions. Athletes will carb load prior to an event, or bodybuilders before a show. That's what I have told y'all on several occasions before, that our football team in high school would have spaghetti dinners on football game days. So there you go. The type of training. Longer or more intense training session, more carbs they consume, or vice versa. Less training, less carbs. body fat levels. The leaner they are, the more high carb days or high carb blocks they have. So it was saying as you get leaner, then you would have more high carbs. Those are just some of the ways that carb cycling is used. Okay. Whew, that's hot. We know when your body receives limited carbs, it relies on stored fat as its primary source of energy, which can be helpful in weight loss. Here are the benefits of low carb periods. May include insulin sensitivity, increased fat burning, improved cholesterol levels, and enhanced metabolic health. Benefits of high carb may have positive effects on hormones during the diet, including thyroid, testosterone, and leptin. Could also reduce inflammation and help a body use iron. Hormones play a key role in hunger, metabolism, and exercise performance. Downsides to carb cycling. A complex diet may be hard to maintain. I'm going to tell you. It talked about, I'll tell you in a minute. It's unclear if potential benefits are long-lasting, and there's not enough evidence to know if it's safe for your health over time. The complex part is, it says so many carbs per pound of body weight. If you have low carb, then do high fat. Opposite. So many parameters. I did not even go into that, because if you wanted to carb cycle, that's something you would need to research yourself, because it is involved, and it's tracking, it's keeping up with your macros. It's not just, I mean, I guess you could, we'll get to my opinion. Let's keep doing the facts. Carbs does say this. Carbs are not to be your simple carbs, like your sweets and your white breads and those kind of things. It should be the healthy complex carbs, the brown rice, the beans, the whole grains, even fruit, like the lower sugar fruits like berries. So if you did it, your high carb days does not mean, okay, low carb days, healthy, high carb days, I can go get a cake. No. Carb cycling seems to benefit those who exercise regularly and athletes, those people who remain active. Those who don't work out may gain weight on high carb days. If you add, okay, this is my take. Let me tell you. This is my take. that was the information part. Then let me give you my take. If you aren't currently having high carb days, let's say, that's what I was going to say a while ago. If you didn't want to follow all the keeping up with your macros and the counting your carbs and this and that, if you alternated higher carb days and lower carb days, it might benefit you from a weight loss, tricking your metabolism standpoint. That would be up to you to decide if you wanted to go that route. But it does not seem feasible to me just to say, I'm going to carb cycle if you're already low carb, to add some high carb days in there just to say you carb cycled. If I did it, I'm already low carb. I would go low carb, lower carb. So my current low carb days would be my high carb days, and I'll go low or no to get that variation. That's if. Okay, here is a typical week. They say you can do 2 days lower, just see 2 days higher, 2 days lower, 1 day higher, and then you just repeat that. Okay, of course you would want to consult your doctor or your nutritionist. You don't take Kim's advice. You don't even take the internet's advice. If you have, I mean, if you're healthy, I don't know, but if you have any kind of health issues, you might want to consult somebody. Like, I don't know. As long as you don't consult me. This is my take. Now, I would consider going lower, I've not been counting. I've just been counting my protein. When I eat high protein, I almost by default eat low carb, unless I'm adding a carb in. You see what I'm saying? So, like if I'm making, like tonight will be steak and gravy, cream potatoes and something. So, the steak is the high protein. If I eat the cream potatoes, that's where I'm adding my carbs and making my carbs go up. But if I don't eat those potatoes, I am by default low carb, just because I'm eating the steak and gravy. And the gravy is just whatever little bit of flour stuck to the meat when I fried it. And there's none in beef broth. So it's a low carb, high protein meal. I would make it high carb by adding the potatoes. I don't think it would benefit me to say, okay, now if I want a potato, this is different. If I want a potato, I'm not talking about that, because I've told y'all before, if I want a tater, I'm going to eat a tater. Tater's good for you. And if I want one, I'm going to eat one. But it would not, I don't think, my personal opinion, it would not benefit me, a sedentary person who is not an athlete, who does not train, who does not exercise regularly, who does not sweat, unless she's out in the sun, to add a carb just to say that I carb cycled. Because as I'm low carb, high protein, I'm kind of on an even keel. I think I would be doing myself a disservice to add that high carb in there just to say, oh, I carb cycled, because then I'm adding calories and carbs that I don't need. I don't need to add them, because we've talked about what carbs do, and I can't remember all the scientific, in the words, and the glucagons and all the things that it does. When you eat the carb, I do know that it will go to your blood sugar. Then it will tell, I think it's your pancreas. Y'all can look it up. I think it's your pancreas that says, okay, let's send out some glucose. And then I think maybe your liver turns it to glucagon. And then I think it might be the glucagon, either the glucagon or the glucose, one or the other, tells you, okay, this is how much blood sugar we have. This is how much insulin we have. This is how much glucose we have. Whatever the final result is, do we want to use it for energy, because we don't have any other energy stored up? Do we want to store it, or do we want to go on and turn it to fat? If you're holding on to a lot of fat like I am, more carbs you eat, and this is me, this is my body, the more carbs I eat, the less weight I lose. Last week was a classic example. I had some carbs this weekend, so I'm not sure how Thursday's going to work out, because I have found, I know, just don't eat them. I know that. I know. They affect my body, even the least little bit. So I know I should stay away from them, just because it's me and it's how my body operates. My body's going to turn them carbs to it's not going to use it for energy. I'm not expending any energy above what it takes to exist and to go shopping, to walk around my house, to, housework or whatever I'm doing. So I'm not exercising. I'm not an athlete. I'm not walking. I'm not doing aerobics. At this point, I haven't even turned around and done a dance yet. So I don't think, this is my take, you take it wherever you want to take it. My take is, unless you are those things that I just mentioned, somebody that does regular exercise, good exercise, heart pumping exercise, sweating exercise, training, bodybuilding, muscle building, unless you're an active person, I don't think carb cycling is right for you. If you are sedentary like me, I think it could be that one case that says high carb days could make you gain weight. I don't think it is worth the chance to see if adding high carb days into your current low carb days would work. You may disagree. Now, with that being said, I do think if you already eat a high carb diet, to add a couple days in of low carb days, I think that might benefit you. I think that's where the metabolism trick would fall into play. Don't quote me, because I don't know if that's the case. Just in my mind, the rationale of reading everything that I read, if the high carb days can make you gain, if you're already on the high carb days, and let's say you're at a plateau, you're stuck, you're not going anywhere, I think adding those lower days in before you go back up, and then adding a couple more lower days back in, I think that might be enough to trick your metabolism and give you some weight loss, break a plateau. That's just my opinion. So if I was already high carb, which I was, and I went low carb, that's when I started losing weight. That's when I always lose weight, is when I'm low carb. When I don't veer. When I veer, it affects me every time. I guess that's how my metabolism works. I don't see the harm in cutting your carbs a few days a week. I just don't. If that's, let's say you exercise 4 days a week, eat your carbs on those days, cut your carbs on the days of rest. If you don't exercise at all, it ain't gonna hurt you to cut your carbs, because you're using more, you're taking in more energy than you can expel when you're eating those carbs. So take in less, give your body a chance to use what you have stored for energy. That's how that works. Look it up. Look up how carbs affect your body, how carbs affect your blood sugar, how carbs affect weight loss, how carbs affect stored fat. That's how it works. So anyway, that is I hadn't looked up there to see how much time, because y'all know I don't look. I hope that's a short and sweet explanation of carb cycling that gives you just a little glimpse of how it works. And you do your own research. If it interests you, if you think it's something you want to do, then you do your research. You look it up. You take your notes. You figure out how to calculate how many carbs you need, how much fat you need, which days, and how many on those days. You figure that out, and you do that yourself. You don't do anything that I tell you, or based on what I tell you. I'm not telling you to do either. I'm not telling you to do it or not to do it. I'm telling you I wouldn't do it. That's me. Your mileage may vary. So, there you have it. There is my view of carb cycling. I'll not be participating in that activity unless it is to make my carbs even lower some days than others, which I would have to track my carbs to know for 100% certain. But you kind of know if you eat carbs on some days and you don't on others, those are higher and lower carb days. That's how Sue sees it. Again, if you know, you know. All right, well, that's it for today. I'll see you back tomorrow for menu plan and grocery haul. Have a good Tuesday.